Alright, so hear me out. Blake Lively is sinking in debt, refusing to pay nearly $2 million to the workers who are constructing her dream house. What has been reported suggests liens have been filed against her, where several contractors are claiming unpaid wages for their regular staff. I mean, it is heartbreaking that people who worked on her home are facing struggles supporting their family while Blake Lively is out there snapping photos with her $60,000 Hermes bags. But if I am honest, it seems like her financial situation is getting worse and her lavish lifestyle is about to end with her falling net worth.
Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds accused of owing $2.1 million. That's Millie, baby. No wonder why they're fighting so hard for those attorney fees. They are brokeskies. Yes, that's right.
Ryan's net worth is $250 million. Blake is $30 million. Why aren't they paying the bills?
It seems like they didn't pay their workers and they owe over $2 million.
Blake Lively purchased this property back in 2018 for around $12 million. And from the very start, the Golden Girl of Hollywood made her plans very obvious. The reason she was constructing this house was because she didn't want her neighbors to see her and her husband. Well, those are her words, not mine. And looking at her finances, I guess not just neighbors, but nobody on this planet would be able to see her dream mansion. And the thing is, what kind of person buys a huge piece of land and then creates their home so that no one can ever see them? I mean, this only happens if you carry a mindset of being above everyone else around you. But now we all know what happened to this paradise. Instead of becoming this secluded utopia, it turned into an 8-year nightmare that is now publicly falling apart. This project is sinking in more than $2.1 million in contractor liens. People who did labor on that property and built things with their own hands never got paid. And under New York state law, if those liens don't get paid, the contractors can actually begin foreclosure proceedings on the property, which means they can take Blake Lively's half-constructed house.
Sure, there are many more people out there who have worked with these people who have been hired by Blake and Ryan who never got.
While builders were waiting 6 months to receive payment for the money they had earned, Blake Lively was out there spending cash like it grew on trees. I mean, that is nothing new. She has become known for reckless spending on fashion, dropping outrageous amounts on designer shoes and accessories. Recently, she was spotted at a Fendi event. And for those who do not know how that works, those Fendi bags are incredibly hard to get. You cannot simply walk into the store and buy one from the shelf. You first have to spend huge amounts on other Fendi products just to get invited into the VIP circle that gives you access to purchase a Birkin. It is basically a club for wealthy people to buy even pricier things. But let me make this clear. She is spending hundreds of thousands on luxury leather items while refusing to pay the workers who built her house. That is the clearest example of terrible priorities. And guess what? This pattern stretches into her professional life, too. During the production of It Ends With Us, reports came out that Blake practically took over the entire wardrobe department. Normally, the costume team buys clothes using the movie's budget, right? That is how films usually work. But Blake had a different plan. She pushed the production into using clothes directly from her own personal closet. In fact, she did not just wear her own outfits for free. She charged Wayfair Studios for using them. She brought pieces she already owned onto the set and then billed the production company for the privilege of putting them on camera. That alone looks like desperate behavior from someone who knows their liquid assets are running dry. That is not what a millionaire does. That is what someone does when they're trying to squeeze every last dollar after settling their own legal mess. And she even admitted herself that clothing is deeply personal and sentimental to her because she is a hoarder. Now, let me tell you, the timing of these unpaid construction bills does not seem random. The work on that house reportedly stopped right when Blake Lively got caught up in one of the most expensive legal fights with Justin Baldoni. That lawsuit drained most of her available cash. It forced her to stop paying the contractors building her dream home. But many believe she was not fighting for justice at all. It looked more like a money grab, an attempt to pressure Steve Sarowitz, the financier behind Wayfair Studios. Blake seemed to see dollar signs and went after them. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni did not stay quiet. He responded with evidence and exposed how Blake and Ryan allegedly tried to gain more creative control over the movie. At first, she reportedly wanted as much as $300 million in damages, only to accept a no-money settlement, just weeks before trial. But why would a billionaire couple walk away from a massive legal battle with $0 and even waive their right to appeal? The answer seems obvious. They were running out of cash, had burned through nearly everything, and had nothing left to keep fighting with at all for the battle ahead there.
The fact that it's also been leaked that they got 0 cents or $0 must be really devastating for them, because that proves everything. That just proves everything about Blake Lively's case, that it was all based on Blake and Ryan's egos, greed, and feelings.
Blake Lively's team alone burned through over $30 million in legal fees, court paperwork, private investigators, PR campaigns, and expert witnesses. That $30 million cost is what shattered her financial stability. Weak sales from her brands like Betty Buzz, combined with this huge legal burden, pushed her to settle outside court because she simply could not afford to keep fighting. The whole mess has already caused massive damage to her reputation. But this is where the math gets complicated. She and her husband spent $30 million on a lawsuit they entirely lost. Now, they do not even have $2.1 million remaining to pay the contractors building their house. Think about that for a moment. $30 million on attorneys. And they cannot gather $2 million for the people who built their home. I mean, I personally think the lawsuit was never about justice or workplace safety. It seemed more about greed and desperation. And now the bill has finally arrived. They made their bed by burning through their cash. Ryan and Blake spent $12 million buying land. They spent roughly $17 million trying to build this self-named paradise, making it about a $29 million investment. And right now, that entire investment is in serious trouble because they still have not paid the wages of those workers. The possibility of losing the whole estate is very real. And it is happening while they keep posting smiling pictures on social media for everyone watching as their financial empire slowly falls apart in public view.
MG, Blake, Ryan, pay your bills. Pay your bills, bro. No wonder why you needed to settle real quick. Y'all are broke-ski.
The largest claim of $1.3 million comes from a company called Flocon, better known as Flower Construction. This business is literally named after flowers. Now, think about that for a moment. Just months before all of this surfaced, Blake Lively was in the middle of her huge press tour for It Ends With Us. And we all know how she turned that entire movie campaign into a floral-themed marketing spectacle. She literally wore flowers to nearly every appearance, saying that flowers symbolize healing and creativity. But while she was out there talking about how much she adored flowers, she was ignoring a $1 million bill from a hardworking company named after flowers. And this was not the only company left out in the cold. Let me go through the rest of this hall of shame. MJ Flynn is owed more than $257,000. Valor Exterior Partners is owed $125,000. Winnick Steel is owed $118,000. And finally, Nazaro Incorporated is owed $250,000. These are the workers who made sure the property had water, sewage, and heating systems. Essential work that cannot simply be left unfinished. But here's the part that really frustrates me. These are working-class businesses. These are people who depend on getting paid on time so they can pay their own employees and support their own families. And Blake Lively, who is out there spending hundreds of thousands on designer bags and shoes, could not even bother paying them while flaunting wealth for the whole world online.
Money. They want their money for the work they did. Contracting work, it's...
The numbers are clear. $2.1 million in total unpaid debts. Not one single payment has been issued for 6 months. And that is likely the reason she keeps posting those Instagram stories just to cover this truth.
Song choice, Ryan. He's a smart guy. He knows a lot about music, movies. He made a choice there. And even the photo itself.
To understand just how entitled and completely detached from reality Blake Lively truly is, you need to watch this clip. It comes from a virtual town planning board meeting back in 2022. And let me tell you, seeing it is almost hilarious. She appears unprepared, totally out of sync, like she had no real plan. It honestly feels like she already knew she had made one of the worst financial choices of her life by investing in that enormous property. But she kept acting like everything would turn out amazing. Her entire presentation was packed with contradictions. She tried to minimize the scale of her wealth by telling the board that the existing buildings on the property were just tiny two-bedroom cottages that were not enough for her family of 5+ extended relatives. Let me explain what that cottage really is. It is a 7,500-foot mansion with 7 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, and a total of 15 rooms spread across 110 acres of land. She called that a cottage that was not large enough for her family. This is what happens when wealthy people stay rich, so long they lose touch with reality. That is the level of entitlement Ryan Reynolds deals with in real life. But maybe he deserves having a lovely wife like Blake Lively.
Honestly, guys, please stop giving Ryan awards. I am running out of precious self-space for my...
The timing of these unpaid debts and the reality of Blake Lively's finances is all coming into the open. People are no longer buying the story they sell. One person wrote, "A $2 million bill staying unpaid for 6 months. Something feels wrong." Justin Baldoni agreeing not to appeal or sue her again must have been something Ryan and Blake needed in that settlement because they know their finances are not as strong as the rumors claim. Another person said, "I do not understand how you sleep at night coming from immense privilege while denying working people what you owe them for services they provided. Honestly, that is exactly how I feel, and I am glad people have seen through the facade." The Instagram posts do not seem glamorous anymore. The red carpet appearances do not feel impressive anymore. They now look like Blake Lively desperately trying to distract everyone from the fact that she and her husband owe $2 million to working-class people and seem to have no plans of paying them. The backlash keeps growing every day. And honestly, it should, because what they have done is not right. To understand how Blake and Ryan have managed to keep up this illusion of being mega real estate moguls and billionaires, you have to understand their hidden weapon: shell companies. Plenty of shell companies. These corporate layers are not there because they are running some massive empire. They are there to mask the truth that their personal assets are actually limited. When you compare their real estate portfolio to other high-earning Hollywood stars, the truth feels surprisingly underwhelming. Despite all the public image of extreme wealth, Ryan and Blake's real estate holdings basically come down to one non-penthouse Tribeca loft and that long-stalled $12 million Westchester property they purchased in 2018. That is it. That is the full portfolio. They do not own multi-state real estate empires like real Hollywood billionaires such as George Clooney or Tyler Perry. Those men own property everywhere. They have real businesses generating real money. But Blake and Ryan have a few LLCs and a half-finished house they cannot afford to complete. As far as I can tell, those shell companies are just a smokescreen. They create the image of a large and complicated corporate structure while hiding the truth that their portfolio is far smaller than it appears. And right now, that fragile portfolio is under threat from liens and possible foreclosure. The illusion of wealth only survives as long as nobody looks too closely at the actual receipts.
So hard to like him. I mean, I know for various reasons, but all of this comes about, and it's no surprise that people can only look at him so negatively now.
Now, let me just speak about Ryan Reynolds, because the narrative around him as some kind of brilliant business mogul is one of the wildest things in Hollywood. A deeper look at his career, his body of work, and his actual business ventures shows that he is not a founder. He is not an in-demand corporate titan. He is simply a glorified spokesperson who uses his celebrity image to artificially boost the value of products he does not actually own. Look at Ryan's career. He is not an in-demand filmmaker or a respected screenwriter. I personally think he can only carry a movie as an actor if he is playing Deadpool. And even then, his real face is not even on the movie poster. It is a Deadpool mask. That is basically his entire identity as an actor.
Feels good. It's becoming the biggest, R-rated film ever. I am at an age where I actually know what to do with that. I feel like
to make up for this limited Hollywood appeal outside the Marvel universe, his PR campaigns have pushed around these exaggerated billionaire numbers to lift his image and make it seem like he is in massive demand everywhere. The image has been polished carefully for years by insiders. When T-Mobile bought Mint Mobile in a cash-and-stock deal valued at $1.35 billion, headlines everywhere credited Ryan as a major owner. But here is the truth. He was only a minority stakeholder who acted as the creative face of the brand. The huge valuation of the company was built on the cost-saving strategy of using his celebrity status as free promotion.
Think about it this way.
If Mint Mobile had to pay Ryan Reynolds for celebrity endorsement fees on the open market, it could have cost nearly $50 million. That also would have lowered their revenue numbers. So, by making Ryan an owner instead of simply a paid promoter, they could claim they were cutting costs while still gaining the celebrity connection. Pretty obvious. He is not the mastermind behind a telecommunications network. He is not building towers or making deals with carriers. He is a mascot. A highly paid mascot, but a mascot nonetheless. The same exact story applies to Aviation Gin too. That brand was sold to Diageo for up to $610 million, and the headlines made it sound like Ryan Reynolds cashed out in a huge way. But the truth is a little different. He purchased a minority stake in the company and took over creative direction. He starred in funny, self-aware commercials that were genuinely entertaining. But his payout was not one giant lump sum. The total deal included an upfront payment with possible earnings of up to $275 million, depending on the performance of Aviation American Gin over a strict 10-year earn-out period. Ryan does not own the factories. He does not distill the gin. He does not handle distribution. Realistically, he did not walk away with $1 billion in cash. He is simply a minority partner trading completely on his fame. And most of that money was tied to performance goals that probably were never reached. And here's the thing about the product itself. Aviation Gin is mostly irrelevant outside the marketing bubble. Think about it. How many Mint Mobile stores can you find in your city? When was the last time you or anyone you know ordered Aviation Gin at a bar or a restaurant? These products mostly exist in the privileged world of celebrities and celebrity branding. But in terms of real consumer demand, they are barely even a blip on the radar. The value is fully manufactured through Ryan's involvement, not through any genuine market success.
Play the sort of, big shot movie star who's unwilling to put his own ass on the line, which is it's really actually.
Now, if you have been following everything we have talked about, the signs of a cash crunch are everywhere. You just need to know where to look. What real billionaire sells donuts in a commercial just to grab a quick paycheck? I am serious. Ryan sold donuts for money. That is not something a person with billions sitting in the bank does. That is something someone does when they need cash and need it fast. And what billionaire do you know is speaking at the Association of Paperclip's annual convention? Because Ryan is out here charging between $500,000 and $750,000 just to appear at industry conventions, corporate retreats, and events like Advertising Week. He is literally flying out to places like New Jersey to deliver a comedy speech to middle managers about advertising or whatever. A true billionaire would never do that. They do not need the money. They do not have time for it. They are managing real companies that bring in real money. Ryan Reynolds is doing these appearances because he desperately needs the cash flow to cover the huge gaps left by his wife's $30 million legal battles and their unpaid $2.1 million construction debts.
Through this very public legal proceeding, how have you guys managed that as a family?
You really see kind of the illusion behind so much of this stuff, digital life versus real life. Really, without getting into it too much, I'll just say I've never in my life been more proud. The
so-called paradise of Blakelively and Ryan Reynolds is falling apart. People are finally seeing through every crack. The $2.1 million debt hanging over their heads is only the beginning of the iceberg. It points to a complete collapse of their financial stability after that legal feud and the string of business deals that never truly paid off. They are now facing the very real possibility of foreclosure on their $29 million real estate investment because they simply cannot pull together the liquid cash to pay the workers who built their home. Their shell companies can no longer hide the fact that their assets are heavily leveraged and their cash flow depends entirely on Ryan acting like a glorified corporate mascot, selling donuts and giving speeches just to fill the gaps. Unable to face the embarrassment of their worst financial choices, the couple is reportedly planning to move into a multi-million-dollar estate in London. Insiders are framing it as a simple lifestyle change. Maybe they want to explore Europe. Maybe the kids could do better in British schools. But come on, we all know what this really means. It is escaping the collapse for everyone watching of their fake empire and carefully crafted image. The debt is real, and the millions they claim to have simply are not there. But does this surprise you? Or did you always believe their billionaire image was more PR than real money? Leave your thoughts below and subscribe for more videos.